Hey guys, so today we're gonna make some chicken and broccoli over rice. I'm cutting up some butter here for the rice because really you can't have good rice without some good butter. And what I learned with rice, I'm gonna use some aged basmati rice. Usually basmati and jasmine is a really good rice. It has sort of like a natural flavor to it. It has a natural fragrance. And we're gonna do about a cup of rice because it's just me and my wife, so why not? And a lot of times on the back of the thing it'll tell you that you need like 2 cups of water for 1 cup of rice. But what I learned over time is that you want to do like 1.5 cups of water to 1 cup of rice. And there's a way to cook rice to make sure it comes out really well. So we'll do 1.5 cups of water. I probably got like a tablespoon of butter, maybe 2 in here. And then we want to actually salt it before the water boils and cooks, because when you this is pre-washed rice too, so a lot of times you have to wash rice before you cook it, but we're not worried about that. We got pre-washed. But what we're gonna do is let this boil, and just gonna make about 1.5 cups, maybe 2 cups of rice. And then while that's cooking, we're gonna start getting our chicken ready. So I love having a vacuum sealer because you know, you can buy a big thing. You can buy a big thing of chicken and store it for a while. So, I mean, this right here has been in our fridge for about a month, or actually in our freezer. And I mean, it's gonna look like it just came out of the pack here. So this has been in the freezer for a month and it looks like it's fresh. I love chicken thighs for any kind of like sort of stir fry sort of dish because it has a ton of flavor compared to like a chicken breast. So the chicken thigh, you know, is sort of going this way. The grain of the chicken is going like this. So we're gonna cut parallel with that so we get these nice sort of pieces. A lot of times when you go to like a Chinese place or a lot of other places, they're using usually chicken thighs, and that's one of the big differences. Another thing that a lot of Chinese places use is baking powder. So baking powder does something with meats. And what happens is the baking powder does something with the proteins, and that's why, like, when you go to like a Chinese place or an Asian place, and there's just something about the meat there that it's like it has a different texture. A lot of that comes from the baking powder. That's actually how you get like crispy chicken wings. Whenever you do chicken wings in the oven, you can throw them with some baking powder. And cornstarch is another big favorite, so that's what we're going to do here today. Our rice is starting to boil here, so we're gonna shake it around. And the other thing is, they tell you to cook rice for a while, but like you usually cook it for like 15 minutes. So we're gonna simmer this for 15 minutes once it boils. Hey Google, set a timer for 15 minutes. 15 minutes. And then after that, we're just gonna let it sit. And the rice is going to come out a little better. We've got our broccoli here. We'll just cut open. We're gonna saute all this, so I'm not too worried about the, you know, it touching meat and all that. But we got our chicken here, so we are actually gonna get a little bit of a sear on this. So we're gonna do salt and pepper. Get a little cornstarch, and we'll get a little baking soda too, or baking powder. Let's do just a little bit of cornstarch. A little bit of baking powder. And we'll do a little soy sauce, garlic and ginger. Do 1 clove of garlic here. Some crushed garlic right there. What about these cutting boards? You can flip it. You got a whole other cutting board there. Get a little ginger here. And we'll just chop this ginger. And we'll chop it this other way too. And do sort of the same thing. Ginger like you do with garlic, and then we're going to put a little soy sauce in here. Mix that up. I'm going to throw all this in a hot skillet, and we're going to get some really good color on it, and then we're going to throw our broccoli in there. Our broccoli is already sort of like parboiled, so we parboiled it and froze it, and what that did is we can throw it right into a recipe. It's parboiled and then like vacuum sealed, so this is like already super, these are like soft. Oh yeah, it smells really good. This rice already is pretty close to finished. You can see the grain in there. So what will happen at the end is we'll turn the heat off once the timer goes off and just let it sit and absorb anything that's sort of still in there, any kind of moisture, as we cook up this chicken. We're gonna make some of our mix that we'll pour in. So this is oyster sauce. The Lee Kum Kee is really like a good brand, authentic brand. So we'll probably put 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce, and then we'll put 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, and we'll also put a little bit of sugar in there. Add a little sweetness to all the saltiness that's going on in there. And we'll add that right at the end and toss everything in that. That's what we're going to use, a silicone little thing for. It's awesome. So we can even taste this already. Yeah. Super savory and salty. And start heating up our pan and put some oil in there. Normally in Chinese or cooking, like wok cooking, you're not really getting any flavor or any sear to the meat. You're just cooking it through really fast, but you know, here that we got like sort of like a wider skillet, we're gonna try to get at least a little bit of a sear on the chicken. And then what we'll do, so I'm starting it at max, and I'm gonna turn it down a little once it gets to where I'm going. And you can see with like oil, sort of, oil will actually like ripple. So if you look at it a certain way, it's ready when it's rippling. We might even go up to like a little bit of smoking going on. You can sort of smell the oil already, that it's hot. Over time you'll learn that. Put our chicken thighs in here, and always away from yourself, right? You don't want to burn your face off. Probably gonna give it a couple minutes on at least one side so we can get a little bit of like a crust on it. Definitely something that we want. I guess this could even be like considered a chicken teriyaki. So we got a little bit of seasoning on our chicken, but what'll happen is, you know, the chicken will get a little bit of crust. Let's turn it down here a little to like medium high. maybe even like medium. And then in like a minute or two, we'll get our nice crust, and then we'll flip it. So in a wok, you'd keep shaking this thing and getting it going, but right now what'll happen is we'll get a crust on the bottom. At least one side will be crusty, and then the other side we'll just cook it, and we'll get our broccoli in there pretty early, and then we'll get our sauce in there, so our soy sauce and everything. And once it gets a good consistency, what we can do is, if you really want to, you can add water if it doesn't look right, like it looks like the sauce is cooking before the chicken is done. So already we got these nice little brown pieces, so if we were to flip this real quick, you know, we got a nice crust, at least on one side. So at least one side will be sort of crunchy. Then from here, I like to usually open up at least, you know, one of these sides. And what I'll do is that's where I'll dump my broccoli. Turn it up just a little bit so that it can get hot. Turn the heat up a little bit. Probably put a little bit of oil on this broccoli. One of the biggest things people don't let happen is, you know, letting their meat just sit in the pan and get some good color. Probably throw some of this chicken on top of the broccoli. Some of it's still a little frozen. That'll be alright. So sometimes while you're cooking, if you want, you can add a little steam, flushing some water in there. Hey Google, how much left on the timer? Got about a minute left on the rice, but I think it's pretty ready. So we can see already. What we'll do is move it off to like a cooler place. We'll let it sit here for about 10 minutes while we're cooking the rest of our chicken and broccoli. Let this cook down a little. Turn the heat up. Add a little more water here. Get that steam going. I think what we can do is we can add some water to this mix here. Hey Google, turn off the timer. Probably add some wine in here or something if you really wanted to. because this is gonna evaporate super fast. Got some good like charring on these broccoli. Like this piece has like a nice bit of color on it. You want to know where it's at? Just taste it. You know, get a piece. Really tender. Put a little salt and pepper in here. And then what we can do is, usually if you want that sort of Chinese flavor, like Chinese takeout flavor for your sauce mix on the outside here. And you'll get it sort of to evaporate a bit in the pan, because that's sort of how they get it done in the Chinese takeout places. The soy sauce boils down on the outside of the wok, and what happens is the sauce sort of changes a little bit and gets this flavor. It's called wok. That's some good. Definitely some good flavors soaking in here and getting through everything. Our oyster sauce and our soy sauce. Perfect. We're pretty close to done though. Let's get this served up. Get some rice here. This rice is like perfect right now. Look at this. Smells amazing. Get some of our chicken and broccoli. That's it. Just like that. Saying. Dinner is served.